Hi guys, it's October 2nd. It's about to be October 3rd, in like probably 30, 40 minutes. Um, I wanted to talk about I was drinking a little bit of wine. This is like my third glass and I'm feeling pretty good. So it's like I'll do a video. Um, Today I was pretty upset, like just pissed off because I get pissed off a lot. That's nothing new, y'all. But I was particularly upset because I spend a lot of time uh, researching Pedogate, Pizzagate, whatever you want to call it, Pedowood. There's so many, and I kind of call them all three because there's so many different avenues of child abuse. Like there's even a church angle that I'm researching as well. Basically, people with power, wealth, authority, they get away with more pedophilia crimes than anybody that I've researched. So that's really been my focus. I know that obviously child abuse happens from a very local level, a very kind of poor people do abuse children as well. Just as I don't know what the actual percentage is, but I've kind of focused my research on those with the most amount of wealth because they have the more ability to hurt the most children. So that's kind of where I focus mine. But the other day it was actually cool. I was protesting and I met a female vigilante pedophile hunter, which I don't know her work. I don't know her credibility, but the thought of that is good. Seems good to me. Um, but I'm gonna get in contact with her again and see where that goes. But I wanted to remind you guys that there is a constant professional um, misinformation campaign out there. And I don't want to sound like the mainstream media when I say this because I'm going to tell you something that's probably not going to be a very popular idea. And that is the government, our US government, is primarily behind the troll farms and the opposition of people who oppose the establishment. The only people that value um, censoring voices of dissent or censoring or discrediting people who talk about Pizzagate or talk about Julian Assange or Seth Rich or any of the topics that have validity and should be backed. They are shown opposition not necessarily by the establishment, but by people online, anonymous people. And I know they like to keep you focused on Facebook, and they say, oh, Facebook's got the most fake news on there, fake news on Facebook. Yeah, there's fake news, but there's fake news on every single social media page, and that fake news benefits the U.S. government more than any other entity. So when you think about when you see propaganda and you see whether it's trying to discredit Republicans, like Republican voters, or discredit Democratic voters, and they keep you pinned back and forth, and they want you to just keep in that left and right mentality. And let me read my notes because I write my notes in docs. But I wanted to talk about certain myths tonight. So this episode is called "Breaking the Myths." Let me get a drink here. The first one is the claim. Okay, let me say this. I was searching Pinterest tonight, and the reason why I said Facebook right now is not our main concern in regards to fake information, misinformation, propaganda, whatever you want to call it. That's not uh, one of the biggest sites that are causing the misinformation campaign. And personally, I think um, social media pages like Pinterest and places where there's very, very little accountability to know who's posting it. That's so, like on Facebook, when I post content, not only do I um, I watermark all my content, all my memes, or at least most of them. Sometimes I just, push it out in a rush and I don't watermark it. But I think there's a little more accountability for who's posting it. Um, and I say that because I've actually been able to accurately document, for example, I think this was probably at least 2 years ago. I went to Hillary Clinton's Facebook page and I went through the people on just a random post I picked. It was not significant. I just picked one at random, like maybe 10 or 20 down onto her page. And I found pictures that had similar graphics on it. And on the one common denominator, there was a few. The number one that I noticed was all of their banners had a picture of the White House, sometimes with fireworks, sometimes with not, but it was all the same view of the White House, just like different pictures. And so that was a key. And then the second one was they had a pro-Trump profile, which why would that was another red flag. Why would any Trump supporter waste their time on Hillary Clinton's profile liking her posts? That's kind of like been Trump's main platform is down with Hillary Clinton, even though that's not actually what he's doing. But it's what his supporters think is happening. So that was a red flag. That didn't make sense to me. I don't know what their strategy was for that. And another one was, I think their locations was either Washington, D.C., or I think somewhere in Kentucky and somewhere in New Jersey, I want to say. And they all had either a teaching position or they were in media, had a lot of common denominators. So anyway, I did screenshots of every single one and put it all on a document together just to show people. And then I think within weeks I checked back and all those profiles were gone. Changed their photo, changed their names. There was no combination. Oh, and another common denominator was those overlays on the default photos, those when those are really popular, through the holidays and stuff, they all had holiday overlays on their image. So I think that was a way for whoever was supervising them to kind of detect which ones were their trolls and which ones weren't. I posted about it repeatedly for weeks, told people about it, showed them the proof, and it got a little bit of attention and people were aware of it. I think more people were aware of it than acknowledged it, commented and shared. I think people saw it, they just didn't really feel like it was a big deal to respond, and I think they got the information regardless. I've learned that if you put out information that's just real and genuine, there's going to be a lot more people that see it than actually respond to it. But anyway, that's just one of the things that I've personally seen because of my activism, that I've seen people pushing pro-agenda stuff, trying to legitimize these people like Hillary Clinton. They have to pay people to do that. Like Facebook, they recently came out where Zuckerberg admitted there was over 30,000 staffers working to censor people, controlling what we say and what is seen and all that. It takes over 30,000 to silence us. And I think a lot of people can agree, if they post anti-establishment content, it's going to get censored no matter what platform you're on. So my strategy has been to be on as many platforms as I physically can, and make it a daily routine. So, but anyway, I want to talk about myths, about the duopoly. It says I can't minimize it. Okay, hold on. I'm going to go back to my screen here so I know what I'm talking about. Okay. Okay, so when I'm reading boards like Pinterest, like platforms like Pinterest, I'm noticing a lot of narratives, a lot of professional boards. I don't know if you've used Pinterest or not, but the way it works is it has different boards, basically different categories of like, so you can divide and save your graphics and memes to different categories. So I try and observe everything and document everything, and if I see something that's strange, like I see a massive amount of content being published on Pinterest, and part of that is the anonymity, and part of it is the ability to publish things quickly. A big reason why I started Meme News and started making memes and stuff is because you could share a lot of information quickly through these graphics. Uploading is quick. It takes very little information to fit in a meme. Wham, bam, you're done. But I'm noticing a lot of Pinterest boards that are like professionally done. Not necessarily that the quality is professional. Professional as in like accurate and helpful and true. But I'm noticing the quantity is so massive, and there's so many different people doing it, pushing these fake memes. I don't want to call them fake news because they'll be associated with Trump, but they're fake news, they're fake information, and they're pushing narratives that are completely false, and they want to keep Democrats versus Republicans fighting each other, and making each other feel like victims. So they want to keep participating in the left versus right. They want to. Here's another myth, claiming that the Democratic Party is somehow a socialist party, and also that they're the party of peace. Neither of them is true. There's claims through these memes on the board, claims that Democrats are less capitalistic than Republicans. That is not true. You need to go to opensecrets.org. I know that people like Elizabeth Warren and who knows else claim that they don't take PAC money if they're in the Democratic Party. If they're in the Democratic Party, they take PAC money. Look it up. They're literally lying. And the people that push this content that's not accurate, that's laziness, and it's hurting the movement. It's making it harder to educate people when you share misinformation. So just know what you're sharing, please. I don't beat around the bush. I tell it straight. Both the Democratic Party and the Republican Party, they're complete capitalists. And that's not even the worst and only problem. Even worse, they're corrupt capitalists, which, some would say goes hand in hand. Corruption and capitalism can't have one without the other. I definitely would agree with that. And when I'm talking about Democrats versus Republicans, I'm talking about government officials. I'm not talking about their followers right now. I think we should focus on the people in charge, the people leading the corrupt parties, the parties that fund these myths, that invest money in PACs and people who spread government propaganda, because that's what it is. You can easily tell what government propaganda is and what's not by the agenda that it pushes. If it pushes something that's anti-establishment and it's posted by someone who is genuinely outside the system, like me or like Deb Della Piana, or so many other people that are like outside the system, they're not voting anymore, they're really becoming ungovernable. Those are the voices that you can guarantee are not government funded. The people that struggle, the people that are like everyday people, the people that get on camera with a chronic anxiety, or the people that are healing from injuries and still getting out and protesting, finding ways to speak out even though it's uncomfortable. And I look at all these women's marches and these climate complaints to Congress, and these little child actresses, they're literally funded and trained by people, and Soros has invested in, pushing an establishment agendas like the Greta girl. She's fucking shaking hands with the Pope and shaking hands with Obama. That's not grassroots. That's not woke. And when I go protest, and sometimes I get treated so horribly by a lot of people because they don't have the information they need to make accurate decisions, and I don't blame them for that. I think everybody should be held accountable for their actions, and part of that is, if you're one of those people that share memes and share content, verify it. It takes a few seconds to Google something, or whatever your search engine. Don't be a part of that cycle that shares propaganda, and it's not going to be easy. Sometimes you're going to make a mistake, but if you make a mistake, you just delete it and handle it accordingly. So let's talk about the Democratic Party allegedly being a socialist organization, which is completely laughable. There is no factual evidence that shows the Democratic Party is a socialist organization. There's no factual evidence that shows the Democratic Party is socialist. I know this can seem silly, whether the Democratic Party is socialist versus capitalist, when what's really important right now is that they are a terrorist organization ran and controlled by some of the most corrupt people in the world, who take money from even more unimaginable corrupt people, that have no regard for human life or truth. Julian Assange is currently in prison right now, waiting extradition, in part because he exposed not only how corrupt political parties work from the inside, how our entire system works, how our corrupt government is, but also the fact that he's not afraid to tell people the truth. And he inspires me to do videos like this, to speak my mind, the way I see things, because I think that I'm pretty dead on when it comes to a lot of important matters. So what my shows are all about, my videos, lost my place here. I had everything written out, actually. So my show, I think I had one too many. I use foul language sometime, or I don't consider it foul to say fuck or shit or damn. I do it. It's how I talk. If you don't like it, okay. I use what rhetoric works for me, and the more attention we can get to help wake more people up, that's what we should all be doing. Some people use foul language. Some people would refer to bang pots and pans on the street corner. Whatever works for you. um, I've enjoyed making these videos, and I used to make memes, and every day, like every day on the hour, I would make new content. Over the years, I've dedicated at least a small portion of my day to document and report through the usage of these types of graphics. As I created these memes, I would publish them on Pinterest. But the one thing that has always mattered to me was the factual information and tagging my work. And tagging is essentially putting my watermark on the graphics, so other people will tell me that other people will know where it came from. I think that's important because I think I've earned my credibility of being consistent and growing, and I think my work and my perspective has gotten a lot clearer over the past few years and a lot more accurate. One thing that I think we should all be aware of is the dissemination of misinformation through social medias like Pinterest, where there is the largest opportunity to publish and share content with the least amount of accountability. It's where people need to use their brains. I'm not talking about censorship. I'm not saying that. I'm talking about critical thinking and awareness. Okay? Awareness of what you share, what you pin, and in doing so, when you pin things, you legitimize a specific narrative. You push an idea, and you need to know what idea you're really pushing. You need to understand what it is that you're sharing and make sure that it's valid. I use Pinterest quite avidly, and I think it should be acknowledged the heavy distribution of these anonymous memes that push false information. No, I'm not telling you that there's a Russian bot trying to interfere in our elections. I'm not saying that. I'm telling you, frankly, that without a doubt, I believe our government is uploading content to deceive its own citizens. I'm talking about treason at the highest levels, paying and organizing this propaganda to be published. When it comes to Facebook, I don't really worry as much about the misinformation as I do about the censorship, allegedly to prevent misinformation when it comes to election interfering, as they claim that it is. When it comes to Pinterest, I see more of a problem when it comes to sharing false information. Now and again, I'm not talking about censorship as a solution. I'm talking about each and every one of you listening to keep in front of your mind that propaganda is everywhere. And you may say, oh, well, I know what propaganda is and what's not. I'm not the problem here. But the problem here is that there are many who still don't understand that. So we need to say this message, however irrelevant it may feel to us right now. We need to keep sharing this message, these simple phrases and concepts to help other people out. When you see pro-establishment content, remember that it's propaganda. It's highly inaccurate, and more often than not, they push a narrative that exactly what the establishment wants. It's election season, so this is expected. I'm not claiming this is anything you guys don't already know, but regardless, has always been someone out there who doesn't get that the USA funds propaganda, They lurk everywhere. There's no social media platform that is safe and that is not being used to benefit the establishment, the empire, the duopoly, whatever you want to call it, the deep state, doesn't matter, all of it, the CIA, all the Five Eyes. I used to think we needed to go out for the establishment one party at a time and separate it and cause a divide that cannot be undone and weaken it, like um, this situation is like a potato, okay? I used to consider it like a potato, and the potato needs to be cut in half, and needs to be divided, it needs to be chopped up, and it needs to be pulverized from both. Cut it in half and separate them. Make them, cut them off right in the middle. Okay, but they're too strong for that. They are too united. They are too embedded as one. It's like a potato that will never. You can never cut it. Like no knife you have is ever going to be sharp enough to cut this right down the middle. It's not. You're going to have to do something to that potato as a whole. You're going to have to go after it together. And I'll tell you why, because I don't know how many protests where I've gone out. Well, I started out with DNC fraud protests. And so many times people would go ahead and they would just shut off, and they'd say they couldn't understand why I was going after one but not going after the other. And ultimately, that's going to be the stance nationwide, that nothing's going to change. So all efforts to try and go after one and then the other would be futile, because people are like, wait a minute, they're realizing the problem is the whole potato, not half of it. Okay, so there's no reason to go after one first and the other. You need to go after all of it. So that's one of my main issues with these Pinterest groups. They go after one party versus another. They lift up one party and push another down. Now that's something that the DNC fraud protest never did. We never legitimized the RNC, but that's not how people see it. And it literally does nothing to the establishment. I mean, we accomplished unity. We got people maybe involved in protesting with the DNC fraud protest, but it ultimately didn't do anything. The DNC fraud protest ultimately didn't do anything. Now, it did give us information that we didn't have before, and that's vital. We used it, but they didn't win in court, and that was a sign that we're not going to get justice within the courts. I mean, Seth Rich is dead. Sean Lucas is dead. 2 of their witnesses died. I mean, that's a sign for future people saying, your life's going to be taken if you challenge the DNC single-handedly. So, these. Hold on. Let me fix this real quick. My back's starting to really kill me. Let's see if I can get through this. I wrote a lot. Oh my God, so many pages. I may have to do part 2. So I was browsing Pinterest. Sorry, I'm starting to slur. So I was browsing Pinterest, and I was seeing hundreds of dedicated groups claiming the Democratic Party is somehow less capitalistic than its mirror image, the Republican Party. One title, one board read, "Capitalism / Republicanism." and that title alone, in just 3 words, or 2 words and a symbol, I could tell that person was gaslit. That person has been manipulated to believe that all the corruption, all the capitalism is only on the Republican side. So it gives me an accurate idea of where they stand mentally. One second. Okay, I didn't see my screen. I wanted to make sure I was still recording. I was like, did I even hit record? So stupid. But this board was filled with several biased viewpoints, of course. And I wanted to point out the quantity of these Pinterest boards, like hundreds and thousands of propaganda memes. And the only way that happens is with money and paying people to do that. Because I've actively, every single day, I've been consistent in posting memes for like probably 20 different boards, and I still get my work done and do all my other stuff. But to be able to produce that many Pinterest boards and pins, is what you call them, that requires money and people being paid to like just only do that, uploading graphics, uploading propaganda, and the only people that benefit from that are the fucking DNC and the RNC, keeping people left versus right. That's it. Some of them address capitalism and claiming they want to regain control over our planet and our country and government. Yet all these memes and these boards and graphics, all they do is distract people fighting left versus right forever until the end of days. If we don't wise up, we are royally fucked. Okay? We must say no more. To truly say no more, it's time to put up or shut up. You want to get money out of politics? Stop fucking voting. You want to end war? Stop fucking voting. If you want to burn it down, as these Bernie boards allegedly claim, then fucking stop participating. Stop with the silly games. Voting does nothing. Now, it did nothing 5 years ago. It did nothing 10 years ago. We do not pick these people. And there is so much more power within this government than the presidency. They have people focused on Trump because they know that even if they do impeach Trump, they know that Pence is going to be worse. And they've wasted all these people time, and they've manipulated these people into focusing on Trump when we have so many other corrupt people within our government that we could be addressing. Pedophiles working at the Pentagon, military raping children. Why don't we talk about that? Why don't we talk about American imperialism? Why don't we talk about Julian Assange? Why are we talking about fucking impeaching somebody in comparison to, say, Obama or Hillary Clinton, who have been complicit in genocide? How about we talk about that? Okay, how about we talk about Flint still not having clean water? How about we talk about that? How about we talk about Israel's influence, Saudi Arabia's influence in our government? How about we talk about that? Why are we wasting our time on these promises that these politicians give us and these lies? And they lie deliberately. And they lie, but at the same time, a lot part of what they say is very true. They're straightforward with us sometimes, and we have to pick and choose what we know to be true by the factual information that can back it up. Because the lie, they'll tell the truth. The lie, they'll tell the truth. It goes back and forth. They're government leaking when they want something leaked. That's fine, but then Julian Assange is still in fucking jail. Manning's in jail. Oh, they like whistleblowers, but only approved whistleblowers. So it's like, when I see people pushing the agenda that's helping the elites, that's being the poster child for whatever bullshit they're trying to promote at the current time, I gotta say, fuck you. I'm not gonna support it. I don't support children that I don't know, that have a platform that I don't agree with, that I don't, I say you are who your friends are. And this little girl, Greta, she's shaking hands with Obama, shaking hands with the Pope. She's side by side in propaganda with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez on these professional posters. I don't fucking trust that, and I have every right to fucking question that. Her autism has nothing fucking to do with this. And that's why they picked her, because they thought that they could brainwash and manipulate people into supporting an agenda that's not in their best interest. Uniting with corruption is wrong. Same with David Hogg. The whole reason he's their poster child is saying, oh, he's a kid, you can't question him. He's going out and getting votes. Can't question him. I sure the fuck can. I sure the fuck can. And all these little poster children, they have connections to the establishment, and there's no way you can continue to ignore that. But people do, and if you find that they're incompetent to have a rational conversation, then you move on to somebody else. Because we're at the point where we need to be mobilizing people who are ready now. Because I believe in my heart that there is enough people to mobilize now, mobilizing the homeless, mobilizing poor communities, mobilizing labor workers, mobilizing unions, mobilizing people who have already suffered, who already have no reason to legitimize this government, people that are already not voting, uniting them together around common causes to solve solutions, to become less dependent on our government, to have enough information and experience of dealing with people and having conversations with people, and educating themselves on what's actually fucking happening. So I totally went off on a tangent, but where am I here? If we could just get people to understand on a basic level that elections don't mean anything, the people are selected in advance, the candidates have sold us out left to right. If you look at the Podesta emails, you see how the Democratic Party works. You see how they have infiltrated media. You see how they work with coercion and blackmail and threats and of slander and just overall collusion with corruption. Gore Vidal said the people have no voice because they have no information. And love that quote. I have it on a poster that I go out and protest with. Become ungovernable. I'm going to talk about that briefly, and then I'll let you go on with your night. Every program, every project that Become Ungovernable does, whether it's the radio station, the social media promotion, our Sunday live streams, all of our specific projects like Obstruct the Vote, Boycotts and Strikes, Empower the Homeless. All of these focus on not only giving the public some way to participate in a revolution, but also to create an outlet for the masses to have that education that they have been needing for a long time now. Like whenever I don't even know some of this stuff. I use the talk to text feature. Sometimes sentences come out like some other wholly different statement here. I think our greatest weapon right now is critical thinking and encouraging people to research on their own and to step up and to question everything, and question the people around them and their political candidates. Question them, and I mean really question them. I mean make an entire a list of questions that you would like to personally know, genuine questions, and I want you to show up to that political whatever book signing or a news interview that they're doing or whatever activity that they're showing up in public, and just don't invite yourself, just show up and ask them questions and put it on camera. um, Tag me in it too, let me know, email it to me. I'll put my email below. We have a massive situation right now where there is an extreme and professional misinformation campaign happening, sponsored by our government, without a doubt. But there's also a problem that because the people are so programmed to never question anything, that it makes it almost impossible to even get them to read the information, even when you provide it and put it in their lap. They may dislike something you said 4 weeks ago and then think, oh, that person's crazy. So they'll dismiss you like permanently. So it's hard to get through there. And then there's people who are gaslit and manipulated. And it's almost like PTSD, talking with people with like Stockholm syndrome, or like, maybe they lived in an abusive relationship and it's like trying to get somebody out of that. But that has to change. If this society, if we're going to survive, we must change. We must become ungovernable. We must learn to become uncomfortable. If you're uncomfortable, if you're not uncomfortable right now, then there's your sign that something needs to change. I was uncomfortable when I saw what was happening in 2016. I used to support Bernie back then. And there came a day when I realized that I was on the wrong path. I realized that he wasn't being legitimate, that he had supported Hillary Clinton for decades. And without a doubt, I believe she is a terrorist. I believe the things that I've read about her dealings in Haiti, her foreign money that she's taken, her involvement in so many other takeovers in other countries. Read the Clinton emails, read the Podesta emails, read all the information provided by WikiLeaks, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Just reading the Podesta emails and seeing how the Democratic Party works. They make propaganda ads on Craigslist, and if you think they're doing it on Craigslist but they're not doing it on every single other social media platform, then I got some swamp land to sell you. Okay, if you're that gullible, filled with gold, swamp filled with gold, and I'll sell it to you if you're that stupid. So I started to sing the Become Ungovernable message more and more, or probably around 2017, maybe earlier, and I was following Deb Villapiana and several others that were giving me anti-establishment ideas in my head, and I truly had to contemplate my beliefs and rethink everything that I had been taught. It was till I was 25 years old that I could finally verbally admit to myself that I wasn't even a Christian, that I didn't feel religious, that even when I was baptized, I knew at the time that I was just doing it to make my mom happy, because she was very religious, and I mentally convinced myself that's what I wanted to do, like that was what I needed to do, and now I realized that was just all because I saw other people doing it. So just keep that in mind. Last myth. The myth that the Democratic Party is a party of peace. I forget what it is. It's like 2000, 600 bombs a day by Obama or something like that for 8 years. Yeah, party of peace, my ass. Now, when the people that say this, I'm referring to people on Pinterest and social media that start boards that are called like things like Republicans depend on the stupid. They push a narrative that only aims insults towards Republicans. They want Republicans to feel like victims. Um, and essentially you give the alt-right, and or as I would like to call it, the alt-white, giving them the justification to dislike the people who call them names and stuff like that. Um, and then myth 4 or 5, whatever the fuck it is, the last one, it's that the Democratic Party is going to offer anything for free. The Democratic Party never is going to give anything out for free. They're never going to give anybody great health care. If you saw what Obamacare was, it was shit. And if you couldn't afford it, then you had to fucking pay a fine. There's one person I knew that actually said that her and her husband that loved each other got divorced so they wouldn't have to pay so much for their insurance. I mean, it's things like that. Obamacare was not great. What Trump is pushing out is not great. Both parties are in bed with Big Pharma. They want us sick. They want us suffering. They want us poor. They want us where if we were to kind of, essentially what we're doing with Become Ungovernable is uniting people nationwide, especially for our Ungovernable 2020 direct actions, which is in October. So be there or be square. Figure it out. I'm scrimping and saving all my change, all my pocket change. If I have anything free, I put it to the side so I have money for travel. I try and donate to Deb Della Piana when I can because she sends me great graphics like this. Gotta see where the screen is here. Hold on. Got so much shit up here. Delete. I like them. I think it's pretty cool. It says rock, rhythm, blues, soul, folk, reggae, podcasts, interviews, truth and revolution. And then our graphic. In the back says no personal info, no joining fees, no advertising, no politicians, no bullshit. And you can look it up on your iPhone and your tablets, I'm sure, Androids, and your laptop. It's tinyurl.com/Become Ungovernable Radio. Promoting these. And she sent me, and she can do this for you guys too if you email her at becomeungovernable@gmail. She sent me a huge ass stack. I sent her $10 for the shipping. It's pretty simple. And there's also this. It's our Obstruct the Vote flyer. It's glossy paper. It's pretty cool. And it tells you our website and then myth by myth of myths about voting and then rebuttals for it. But in my graphic, I made this Obstruct the Vote 2020. We just feel that we need to unite people outside the system. That's the only way to unite the most amount of people in the quickest amount of time, because the system cannot be reformed. And with so many people being paid to push out the false narrative, and Facebook admitted themselves they have over 30,000 people censoring us. That's what they do. They look for content that they don't feel is appropriate, and a lot of that is political stuff. So I don't know why Facebook feels they have the authority to tell us what we can and can't read. Maybe because the mainstream media does it, the government does it. So why can't social medias do it? And they have admitted that they work together in unity. Um, Now it's definitely about, a lot of it's about money and control and power. Um, like if you look at Undercover Global with, forget his first name, his last name is Morales. He's the owner of Undercover Global, but he was paid by the Ecuadorian government, by Lenin Moreno, to install cameras and audio devices in the Ecuadorian embassy, and they spied on Assange, even in the fucking women's bathroom. That is where we are. And they're going to be coming for us next. They're already coming for us in regards to censorship. And I know probably at least 100 people who are suffering from that severely right now. 3 of my devices, I can't even access Facebook on it anymore. No explanation. Even with the VIN Express VIN, I couldn't sign in. Just says there's a permanent error. And I think why that happened is because when I confronted Nina Turner, I posted that video onto Facebook, and within 24 hours, my account was disabled. My IP address was permanently banned, and 2 other devices as well, because I signed in with my account and it triggered it and said, okay, now all these devices are connected to my banning. I even had a friend that was across the country, and she tried to make an account for me and log in, and then when I logged in here, then it disabled the account. So I've experienced it. Y'all, you're not alone. If it's happening to you, you're not alone. In regards to solutions, because I know solutions, we need to be working together. Right now, we need to be focusing on specific goals like Stop the Vote, boycotts and strikes, our 2020 direct actions. It's a year away, but still, we need to do fundraising, we need to do promoting, we need to have idea teams. We have different divisions, so it's going to be October 3rd. We're going to do, I forget which order we're doing it. There's one that's going to be Empower the Homeless, another one that's going to be, we have so many projects that on certain days we're going to do multiple topics. Like one day is going to be Obstruct the Vote, along with boycotts and strikes. And I don't have a copy of it yet, but we have it ordered, where it's a boycotts and strike poster. It won't look like this, but it'll be the same size. And we'll use that at the event. Another big aspect of it is ordering these from us. Like, we'll send them to you for free. It's not, the donations are not mandatory, but we do recommend, if you need it, help us with the shipping at least. Send us donations at, what is it? PayPal.me/ungovernable with no S at the end, just ungovernable. PayPal.me/ungovernable. And then you email Deb. I'll put the link below, and we'll send you these cards. We also have cards coming for boycotts and strikes. It's going to have one half boycott Black Friday, and then the other side is going to be boycott Cyber Monday. Then we're going to have a boycott Amazon card with the flip side saying boycott Whole Foods. And the point of this is not only to vote with our wallet every day, because if we're not voting in the election booth, we need to be voting with our wallet and giving our money to businesses that actually need it, because like Jeff Bezos, he makes, I think, over $230,000 a minute. That is too much wealth for one person. and they use that money to invest in our demise, in our oppression. They invested in the censorship, um, and they definitely don't give it to their employees. I mean, anytime you see these politicians, they either show up to push agendas that look like they're holding these corporations accountable, but they're not. I mean, they're getting investments from these corporations. They're like when Bernie was advocating for Amazon workers to have better conditions and better pay, they actually make less now because they lost their stock options. He's not mentioning that though. Bernie Sanders is not mentioning DNC fraud. Bernie Sanders is not mentioning that Hillary Clinton is a fucking terrorist. Bernie Sanders is not mentioning that two of the DNC fraud lawsuit witnesses are dead. He doesn't care. He doesn't care about you. He doesn't care about me. He cares about himself and his political agenda. And he may believe the words that he's speaking, but I'm not. And you shouldn't either. You should research everything he says. He blames Russia for the reason that Hillary Clinton is not president. And, I want to end with one last thing. If you're sharing something about Pizzagate or Pedogate or Pedowood, whatever you want to call it, know what you're talking about. If I see you posting stuff on my page and it's not accurate and it's lazy, then I'm going to remove you because I don't support people who push false narratives. I'm going to treat you as an infiltrator. I'm going to treat you as a establishment troll, paid worker, and that's how it's got to be. So that being said, everybody else who has common sense, I'm happy to have you on my page, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow.